Coming up next, Otsile is on standby with the news. It's 2.
Thanks, Bertha. Top stories at 2 o'clock. African Development Bank calls for the renewal of AGOA and manhunt for suspects following a shooting in Mthatha. Good afternoon. The African Development Bank in South Africa says the renewal of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, is key to the development of the country. It says if AGOA is not renewed in September this year, many jobs will be lost, especially manufacturing and agricultural sectors. AFDB country economist in South Africa, Akona Peter, says that the country has to diversify its trade relations should AGOA not be renewed. Peter was speaking to the SABC at the launch of the 2025 South Africa Country Report in Pretoria.
The renewal of AGOA will be very important, not just for South Africa, but some of also the SACU countries, but very important for agriculture, the farmers that currently receive preferential export tariffs to America. So if it's not renewed and we receive a very high trade tariff, it's going to cause a lot of jobs.
Eastern Cape Police are searching for suspects who fatally shot 3 men at Slovo Park in Mthatha in the early hours of today. Police spokesperson Nobuntu Kantana says they were alerted to the scene after reports of gunshots. Kantana says when police arrived, they discovered the 3 deceased.
The first victim sustained 2 gunshot wounds to the head. The second victim had 1 gunshot wound to the head and 3 to the body, while the third victim was found with a gunshot wound at the back of the head, which exited through the front. One of the deceased is a known individual in the area. The motive for the attack remains unknown at this stage. Police are appealing to anyone with information to come forward.
The city of Ekurhuleni says it's deeply shocked and saddened by the murder of its head of forensic audits, Mpho Mafule, who was fatally shot in a drive-by shooting on the R23 in Kempton Park, east of Johannesburg, on Monday. Tsepo Pagani reports.
Mafule was driving on the R23 in Kempton Park at about 6 in the evening when he was fatally wounded. Gauteng police spokesperson Colonel Dimakatso Nebuhuli says they found the victim lying in his car with gunshot wounds. The city of Ekurhuleni says it is cooperating fully with the police to ensure that those responsible are brought to justice.
Enyobeni tavern owner has admitted that it was his responsibility to ensure that there were no underaged children at his establishment when 21 teenagers died in June 2022. Siakangela Ndevu was testifying at the inquest underway at the East London Magistrates Court sitting in Mdantsane in the Eastern Cape. The inquest seeks to establish if anyone can be held accountable for the death of the children at the tavern based in Scenery Park in East London. Ndevu said he was at an initiation school to attend to an emergency involving his son when he received a call from one of his employees informing him about the patrons who were forcing their entry into the tavern. Finally, further afield, the Quad countries, Australia, India, Japan and the United States, say they are launching a critical minerals initiative to cut reliance on Chinese rare earth metals. Meeting in Washington with foreign ministers pledged to diversify supply chains to boost economic security and collective resilience. The U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said the Quad countries could work better together on such issues.
In addition to the bilateral relationships we have with each of the 3 partner nations that are here, it's also important within this forum to turn it into one where we begin to focus on specific issues that we want to work together on and begin to deliver action on those issues. And today's the next step in that process.
Recapping the top story, the African Development Bank in South Africa says the renewal of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, is key to the development of the country. For SAFM News, I'm Udzile Saku. Headlines at 2:30.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
The The National Arts Festival is back. South Africa's biggest celebration of the arts is on. From the 26th of June to the 6th of July, Makhanda becomes the stage for South Africa's boldest theatre, dance, music, arts, comedy, and more. Experience the creative energy, markets, exhibitions, and many surprises. It's where the country comes to create and the world takes notice. Browse the program and book now at nationalartsfestival.co.za. Own it, celebrate it, be there.
The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, under the banner of the Fantuka at Living Legends Recognition Series, will host a tribute concert in honor of Mama Abigail Kubeka, celebrating her 68 years of excellence in the South African music industry. Taking place on Saturday, 5th of July 2025, 6 p.m. at the State Theatre in Pretoria, featuring over 25 legendary performers such as Yvonne Chaka Chaka, Faith Kekana, Mandisa Hlanga, Kanyo Mapumulo, Sipho Hot Sticks Mabuse, Makoi Murubata, amongst others. Tickets are available at web tickets and Pick and Pay. Get your tickets now. The Abigail Kubeka tribute concert in support or being supported by SABC Radio.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.9 FM in Port Shepstone.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
Smale Chimsoro Let's recap if you've just tuned in. Yes, it is the Full Circle, and we started off the show speaking to Dr. Ashley Westerway, head of the Makanda organization, GADRA, the Grahamstown Distress Relief Association, and we're talking about, their extraordinary turnaround thanks to community mobilization and several interventions as well. Then we spoke to Mateo Tabane playing Mrs. Phelps. Matilda the musical is on, and the People's Theatre revealed the 3 talented young performers who are going to share the iconic role of Matilda. And just before we crossed over to the news desk, hashtag Made in South Africa, Made in SA, agripreneur Zandile Kumalo shared her journey in hydroponics farming and just expanding and breaking down how it all works, and also how they are encouraging young upcoming farmers. Coming up in the second hour of the show, family relationships psychology. What is the real work required for staying close as a couple in the age of social media? Big question. We're going to be speaking to Anele Machisi, author and creator of Inside Out Conversations. And then the last bit of the show, that's the last 30 minutes of the show, South African Harvest National Campaign supporting matrics through food justice. But when we get back, we'll be speaking to Anele and family, relationships and psychology all in one.
Living your best life on the Full Circle.
So, love in a time of Wi-Fi, how couples cultivate connection online. For most, WhatsApp was the to go to. It was the easiest, most intimate platform, rich with voice notes, real-time messaging, video calls. But the communication wasn't just about logistics or surface-level check-ins. The real work of staying close. What is it? What does it mean? What does it look like? So, what is the real work required to staying close as a couple in the age of social media? Anele, author and creator of Inside Out Conversations, joins us. Anele Machisi is on the other side of the line. Good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, President. Thank you for having me.
Love in the time of Wi-Fi. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
I think we've become, so I don't know, instead of us becoming close, that's my perception, I think we've become very detached somehow, because if I send you a WhatsApp, I just expect, okay, fine, you're going to get it and you're going to be fine with it. But I never really know how you feel because I cannot tell the body language, which actually disseminates quite a bit of information. But maybe if you could just help us here.
Yeah. No, first of all, thank you for having me. I think the immediate departure point is for us to understand that we are a phygital society. So what that basically means is that we exist in 2 inseparable realities, the physical and the digital. Therefore, it only makes sense for couples and individuals to be able to connect in both levels, or should I say, to learn how to connect in both realities.
So, yes.
Yeah, so that's the back, and then I just wanted to add on to that as well is that add to living in a phygital society, we also are add to living in these dual realities. We are also a post-permanent generation. In other words, nothing that we build or nothing that we often commit ourselves to is ever intended, or let me not say ever, but is mostly never intended to last. It can be something as simple as a career. I don't plan to stay in the same job for the rest of my career. I want to move around. So it makes sense for us to be like that. But the same thinking also goes into how we do relationships, and that now forms part of how we do relationship maintenance, and especially for people who are considering longevity or nothing permanent, because as a post-permanent generation, we tend to embrace fluidity. over structure, for instance. We tend to prioritize individuality and independence over interdependence. And these are qualities that come into play. And there's a powerful point that you mentioned as you were starting, and that is the accused that social media or digital platforms are blind to, and that is body language, for instance, what you mentioned, that I cannot text body language. I need to see you, I need to talk to you. And so some people naturally will also struggle, for instance, in the era of dating apps, they would struggle in meeting people online because they communicate at that level. I need to see you. I need to know how you smell like. I need to see the things that interest you while I'm talking to you, for instance, or how you listen. So, and that learning to find that balance is such an important thing. And then there's another point that you mentioned, and that is quite a common assumption as well, and that is technology or social media platforms or digital platforms that often serve as a distraction away from connection, instead of them being the tools that we can actually use to foster those connections with the people that are closest to us. And so one of the things that we're gradually learning, especially with the South African population, for instance, South Africa has the second highest user rate on WhatsApp in the world after Nigeria. So what that basically means is that about 94% of South Africa's online population is active on WhatsApp. So how that translates in relationships is that people tend to connect. I would want to know, for example, if we're in a relationship, are we able to form relationship rituals? Or we usually call them digital rituals. Are we able to form digital rituals as a couple? Something as simple as a morning text, an evening text, check in during the day. And sometimes it's something as good as gossip. You share office gossip with your person over text. That's how people maintain their relationships. They connect and they communicate on these platforms.
So there's a study where there was interviews were conducted. 8 young adults were interviewed, aged between 22 to 29, and who were in stable, exclusive relationships, and they weren't living together, weren't married, spent regular time apart, and were the kind of relationships where future plans were being made on a daily basis, but daily routines were still separate. The big question then becomes, how do you keep romance alive on social media?
I think it's quite an easy one, actually, because you realize that platforms like social media, when I say social media, I mean WhatsApp included, because it is a social media platform, in as much as it started as an instant messaging platform. So we use social media as a tool to enhance the relationship. We do not use social media as proof or evidence of love. So by that I mean, for instance, whether it's social media or other apps, because other couples use they have shared to-do lists. They have shared digital albums on drives and so forth. So platforms like WhatsApp, for instance, don't necessarily mean that just because we communicate digitally, we have to have public displays of affection, because there are people who value their privacy, maintain completely different lifestyles than who they are online. And so we do this. We use these platforms, like I said, as tools to enhance or to convenience ourselves when it comes to maintaining our relationships, instead of using them as evidence of love. In other words, if I text you and then I see that you've read my messages, but then you have not replied in an hour, it means that you do not care. It should not be like that.
And it shouldn't. I'm interested to hear other views. Give us a call. Send us a voice note, 086 000 2032. And you can also send us a voice note on our WhatsApp line, 061 410 4107. Just to hear your views and how you view how we are now socializing and communicating and keeping relationships alive through, the WhatsApps, or rather, in a nutshell, social media. I can bet you my bottom dollar we all differ in so many different ways. But Anele, tell me something. How are you able to really tell whether you are in sync? Yeah, you are totally in sync. You're speaking the same language when you type and you send emojis.
I think that's a generational question. I'll make an example. Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Zs communicate completely different. So we connect differently to each other. For example, if you're talking to a Gen Xer, you can't be sending emojis and abbreviation. You have to write in full sentences like you used to do with an SMS. So, but when you're talking to a millennial and a Gen Z, they might be able to comprehend what you're saying. Now, with millennials in South Africa being close to 40, they're not so sharp as we used to be. So, to the point that you're making in terms of how do we determine connection, nothing beats meeting in person. In as much as now, again, with this generation, it is one of the places that people are most likely to meet their partners or spouses. One is online, and the second one being at work. So that actually then also lets you know that there is no contradiction when it comes to connection between the digital and the physical realities. So people can still connect and form meaningful relationships, having started with the digital.
So we've heard quite a number of times horror stories where, WhatsApp blow-ups, Instagram posts that notch up the jealousy factor, and emojis that accidentally ruin a perfectly good weekend. You are having a fantastic time, and then pop goes an emoji that just says something completely hurting or, makes you dysfunctional. Social media doesn't always have the best rep when it comes to relationship, does it?
Yes, no, it does not. It does not, and that's a fact. And so I think there are two things that we are also gradually learning with social media. One is social media hygiene. So in other words, you're online. You need to have rituals that somewhere at some point I need to be able to switch off. At some point I need to be able to walk away from this thing. That's the first one. So there's a level of clearing your mind or yourself away from just any digital connection. You can't always be permanently connected to the world. The second thing that we are learning is social media etiquette. So which is now the point that you are making of what is acceptable to me or to us as a couple when it comes to what can you send or receive from each other or other people, what kind of communication are we maintaining with each other and with other people using our platform. So there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with that. So it is no longer a casual play. That now it was just something that I said online. I didn't mean that. Now it is a part of who we are and what we do. Hence, I started with that differentiation of the physical and the digital realities, because those two realities are part of who we are, and they are here to stay.
And that portion was from actually Lauren Matham, a newly qualified clinical psychologist who set out to explore in a master's thesis at Nelson Mandela University. And the research, Matham's research, completed at the end of last year under the supervision of cyber relationships expert Dr. Tanya Lambert, focused on South African young adults. Using social media to maintain intimacy, passion, and committed romantic relationships. And open quote, this is from Matham's research, and Matham says, open quote, I wanted to find out how young people were staying emotionally close in an era in which we are often physically apart, close quote, and then open again. And I wanted to focus on relationships that already existed, not dating apps or how people meet, but how they stay connected. And I think that is what has triggered us to have this conversation. Now, you being an author and a creator of Inside Out Conversations, what was going through your mind? What prompted you to pen this?
Mine was quite simple. One of the things that I found out was that especially when it comes to digital communication between men and women, more specifically your black, upwardly mobile men and women, is that most of the communication that we are constantly bombarded with is oppositional. It's men against women, women against men. It's us, we're better than you, and that's a lot of our algorithms are geared like that because they drive traffic. However, in practice or in reality, in the physical reality, you discover that people really and genuinely want to connect. They want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. They want to feel understood. They want to know I'm not alone in this. They want to know, okay, I'm not weird, or I'm okay to be weird with this bunch. This is my tribe. And so the creation of Inside Out was basically breaking away from the silos and just creating a space for us to connect, whether it is on parenting issues, entrepreneurial ventures, relationship topics, and so forth, and also to hear as well. For instance, when I make an example about parenting, to hear, for instance, about men, what are men's views today about parenting, and then you discover it's such a stark difference. Such a contrary in comparison to what is out there on social media, where you would have, for example, people talking about men are not involved and so forth. But when you talk and actually connect with people, you discover that we all want the same things, but most of the times we just do not have the language to express what we want, or in the way that we need to be saying it. So being part of spaces like the ones that we created with Inside Out, they basically helps a lot of people with navigating such conversations.
I've got a message here that has come through, and it says, I want to remain anonymous. Hi, Bertha. I have been involved in a relationship with someone who, we are from two generations. I'm from the younger generation. He's from an older generation. And in the beginning, it all started, it looked quite good. And he would send me little emojis, but he doesn't type as much as I do. And as I typed quite a bit, as in I was more elaborate. And I think he just found it a little bit tedious. Eventually, all I could get were just emojis and little captions and emojis. And I don't understand. How do I then know where I'm at?
Maybe that's the conversation to have. One of the things that we normally discuss in Inside Out is that at times, instead of talking about the things, we talk about the things around the thing. So the conversation to have maybe is, how do you feel? How do you interact in terms of the platform? How do you feel about communicating online? Because, for example, I'm one of the people, I genuinely do not like voice notes, simply because I'm busy. It has nothing to do with being rigid. It's just I'm busy. So I can't stop and then listen to a message and then just send a message and reply when I have time. So it may so happen that with the other person as well, they're in a position where I would rather call you instead of text you, or on occasion, can you maybe just I'll send you something that I think is meaningful. Some people, for instance, prefer, I'll send you a link to what I've read. Yeah. This is what I read. So to some people just genuinely cannot relate to emojis with emojis. They have no clue what
tough.
They mean.
Yeah.
It's tough. And so maybe that's the conversation instead of, and also the feelings around it as well. Are they comfortable in communicating in that platform?
I just want to squeeze in, I've got 2 voice notes that I'm going to squeeze in, and then we can quickly wrap it up just before, we've got a minute precisely. Let's go.
Hi, my sister. Okay, I'm a first time to share my view. Yes, I'm anonymous from Kwandebele. Social media is working for me and my partner. We usually meet once a week, but we communicate a lot through social media, especially WhatsApp. We share funny jokes, maybe a video from TikTok, anything that relates to something that makes us happy, or something that we share in common. We usually share such moments, and we communicate. So it has been working for us for 2020. Imagine in lockdown. Yeah, that has been working magic for us. Thank you.
Anele, I think let's quickly wrap it up, literally in 20 seconds max.
All right. So I would just say is that, as we build and as we learn to live in these two realities, the physical and the digital, one of the main things I always remind people is that make sure that you do not use the platforms for comparison, because as the saying goes, that comparison is the thief of joy. So your relationship is your relationship. So what happens next door in the other relationship as it relates to posts and whatnot, that's their relationship, because what we see online is not always what is in the physical reality.
Absolutely. Anele Machisi, author and creator of Inside Out Conversations, chatting to us. For more info, where do we go?
We can visit insideoutonline.co.za.
Thank you so much. Have yourself a good one. Just gone after 2:30 and Otsile is on standby with headlines.
Thanks, Bertha. In the headlines at 2:30, the NPA has filed a petition to the Supreme Court of Appeal for leave to appeal the judgment of the Free State High Court, which discharged Moradi Cholota. Last month, Judge Philip Lobsher found that Cholota's extradition from the USA was unlawful and ruled that South African courts do not have jurisdiction to try her as an accused in the 255 million rand asbestos roof removal case. The African Development Bank in South Africa says the renewal of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, is key to the development of the country. And the Tibetan Buddhist spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, has confirmed that he will have a successor after his death. Details at 3 o'clock.
The Morning Brief.
Do you know why you were fired?
Well, I can only speculate. I received a letter on Wednesday, and that letter didn't provide any explanation, but thanked me for my service and reiterated the President's legal prerogative to appoint and obviously disappoint in this case. But, one of the reasons may very well be that I traveled to the United States earlier this year. I did request permission from the President. After 10 days, I had not received a response, and I undertook to go obviously at risk.
Andrew Whitfield, DA Member of Parliament and also former Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
SABC Education, in partnership with the Department of Health and Dilifa Labantwana, bring you episode 31 of the Side-by-Side drama Season 4. Focused on what to do when your child is sick with fever and chest infections.
Say and say. Side by side.
Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya you Tina.
Yo, Joyce, I'm really concerned about this poor girl, Sissy. She's been up all night coughing and she's burning up. I've tried everything to bring her fever down.
Did you try sponging her down with some warm water? Sometimes that helps.
Yes, I did do that. And I also made sure she's drinking lots of fluid. You did say Gucci breast milk is best, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's past that stage, so I gave her some watery porridge and juice. She has very little energy, Joyce. Yes, and she barely opens her eyes.
Oh no, Babalwa. It sounds like you're doing everything right, but if her temperature is still high and she's not showing any signs of energy, it might be more than just a cold. Have you noticed any fast-paced breathing or wheezing?
Her breath does seem fast, now that you mention it, and she's not her usual self at all.
Okay, Babalwa. It's very important to keep her hydrated and to keep her energy up. Have you noticed any chest indrawing when she breathes?
Oh my, yes. There is some indrawing. I thought she was just struggling because of the cough, Joyce.
Babalwa, those are signs of pneumonia. You need to get her to the clinic as soon as possible. The quicker she's been seen by a professional, the better.
Oh, okay, I'll leave right now. Enkosi, Joyce. Spogazi, my baby. We're going to see Nespili's, okay? She'll help you feel so much better, my love.
Mama, I don't like being sick.
I know, my love, but we're going to take care of you, okay? Now let's get you bundled up into the clinic. Nespilisa will know just what to do. Oh, let's go, my baby.
Mr. Janti, may I have a word with you?
You are not supposed to be at school, Mr. Makweti. You've been suspended and the investigation is not completed. And as I understand, a case has been opened against you by one of your grade 7's mothers.
But I've done nothing wrong. This is a misunderstanding. Imange, her mother, they've just misconstrued everything.
Oh, Makweti, I wish I could believe that, Siyabonga. But the allegations are serious, and the school can't be seen going against the law.
You are making a mistake, Janti. This will ruin my career, my reputation of a what? Lies.
Siyabonga. You need to leave the school premises right now, or I'll call the police. We can't compromise the safety and well-being of our students.
You and the school board will regret this.
Don't threaten me. Now, get out of my office.
Babalwa, I've just checked Uspoka's. Her fever is quite high, and she's showing signs of serious chest infection. It's important we start with treatment right away.
Oh, Nespeliswa, is my baby going to be okay? What are these signs you're talking about? I just need to know she's safe.
Well, we've caught it early, which is good. But you did the right thing bringing her in. Look, the danger signs we worried about includes her fast breathing. It's more than 50 breaths a minute. And there's a chest indrawing when she breathes out.
Oh, my baby.
I know it's scary, but we're going to take good care of her. I'm writing a prescriptions for antibiotics. You need to give them to her exactly as I tell you. She must complete the course, Babalo.
I'll do it, Nespiliso, I promise. What else can I do? How do I make my baby more comfortable?
Well, for now, keep her hydrated. If she's breastfeeding, continue as normal. But if she's not, small sips of fluids often. And if her temperature remains high, sponge her down with lukewarm water.
Okay. Hydration and sponging. Got it. And the cough. The cough, it sounds so painful.
The cough is a symptom of infection. The antibiotics should help. But if she starts wheezing or the cough persists for more than 2 weeks, please bring her immediately. We may need to do a test for TB.
Hi, boy, TB. Oh no, that's serious, isn't it, Miss Phyllis?
Well, it can be, but it's treatable, especially when caught very early. And Babalwa, watch for any danger signs like convulsions, persistent vomiting, or if she becomes unresponsive. If you see any of these, come back to the clinic right away, please.
Oh, thank you, Miss Phyllis. I don't know what I'll do without you. I'll make sure Spokazi gets all her medication and care on time.
Yeah. Listen, you are doing a great job, Babalwa. Let's get Sipokazi feeling better. Okay, baby? And remember, her Road to Health booklet is your guide through this. Keep it updated all the time.
I will, Ness. I will. Thank you. Truly. Everything's going to be okay, my little warrior. Va?
Singama Africa, Kenya, you. Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya, you. Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya, you. Tina.
Join us again tomorrow as we sit down with an expert at 2:30 to further discuss what to do when your child is sick with fever and chest infections right here on SAFM.
Say and say. Side by side.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.1 FM in Bombela.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
EFC is live this Thursday, after months of talk.
And you got nothing, bro. Beat someone relevant, then come show me what you got.
The middleweight division's biggest rivalry comes to a dramatic conclusion.
Massive drama here at the main event of EFC. Never seen anything like it. This crowd.
It's Luke Michael versus Shadrach and Sua for the middleweight title. EFC 125. Live from the World Sports Betting Arena this Thursday, July 3rd. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals, Kaizer Chiefs greats and Bafana Bafana 2010 FIFA World Cup stars Rene Solonyane and Sipiwe Chabalala take on the food and beverage industry. The legendary duo own one of Soweto's most vibrant hangout spots and invite us to be the tastemakers of the inner workings of their establishment. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 on Saturday, 5 July at 8:30 p.m. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Herman Mashaba's response is so interesting, and he said, John, when I was the mayor of the city of Joburg, I fired 3 DA MACO members for corruption. The party kept them as councillors. South Africa is not going to succeed in fighting corruption for as long as we apply double standards. Corruption is
no such
corruption.
thing. The whole country knows Ashraf. You can't trust anything Herman Mashaba says. One day, he's a flip-flopper on plastic notes. If there's one politician in this country who's renowned for being a flip-flopper, who's unable to stay true to any public comment without changing it the next second, it is Herman Mashaba.
Karabo Kaukau, the DA national spokesperson.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Living your best life on the Full Circle.
And it is the Full Circle indeed. And this is the last lap of the show. South Africa Harvest's national campaign supporting matrics through food justice. So this Nelson Mandela Day that's coming up, South Africa Harvest is calling on South Africans to take part in a campaign that champions dignity, justice and youth empowerment one bucket at a time. The 2025 Buckets of Nutrition for Matriculants campaign is a powerful public-facing initiative focused on equipping grade 12 learners in underdeserved communities with essentials they need to face their final school year with hope and resilience. Each curated bucket includes shelf-stable, nutritious food, hygiene items, and basic stationery. Small but significant tools to restore dignity and support academic success. And to join us to understand more, I do have Ozinel, COO of South Africa Harvest, to help us share what this is all about. Good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Bertha. It's always a privilege to be speaking to you and the listeners. Are you well?
I am fantastic, and thank you for making time. 2025 Buckets of Nutrition for Matriculants. Maybe if you could just unpack what the campaign is all about.
Absolutely, Bertha. But before I do that, I'm going to have to take you and the listeners just a step back. Just explain what we do at SA Harvest and why this is so important for us as an organization. So as an organization, we work in food rescue. That means we work with large-scale manufacturers and farmers, and we redistribute all of their excess that does not make it onto the retail shelf. We redistribute all of this stock all over the country to community-based organizations that turn this into meals for so many marginalized people. And I must say, over the years, by spending so much time on the ground in these communities, we've realized that even though ourselves and a lot of similar organizations do really great work in these community-based organizations, there are still young people and kids that are falling through the cracks. And a couple of years ago, with a really good friend of ours, Sal Ellis of Daily Maverick, we did a huge campaign in the old Ponderland Transkei region where we realized that a lot of the kids that we were feeding at school level had no nutrition in the school holidays when they were going home, and they rely on these meals. So we did a big campaign, and we ended up feeding literally 2,000 families. And this is how the whole bucket of nutrition concept started, really to put a lens on certain marginalized young people in our community that are still falling through the cracks. And based on that, last year in December, we actually reached out to a lot of the government hospitals, and we focused specifically on cancer kits, and we realized within those communities that so many of these kids, when they leave in December, the outpatients, they actually don't have the nutrition to carry them through. And so when they come back in January or February for treatment, they're actually worse off than when they started.
And so then, of course, the 2025 Buckets Nutrition for Matriculants is born. We know that 18th of July happens every year. So South African Harvest will host public bucket packing activations at one of the sites is the Pavilion in KZN. Melrose Arch is another one in Gauteng. How does this work?
So what we have done is that we're not just doing it at those specific locations. We actually encouraged a lot of corporates to pack buckets at their own venues, and as Harvest will pick it up. And through our digital platform, once we've handed out these buckets, we'll be able to show exactly where these buckets went to. And we've gone back to most of our community-based organizations and said, listen here, we know within your community there are matrics that are going to be writing exams, and you know for a fact that they don't have adequate nutrition, or they might be missing something as simple as a sanitary pad. So that's why we designed the bucket in a specific way, and we're really putting a lens on so many of our matriculants to give them a fighting chance while they're writing the exams, to just have those comforts and that nutrition that they need for their exams.
And what would be the contents of the curated bucket? Just as just a rough estimate.
So, I mean, we worked out the bucket. So we always, this time of year, we always partner with Boxer. They really come to the party for us. So we're combining dry goods with beans and pork chips, to give them the protein. We're adding in quite a few pulses, because that's also a good form of protein. And then we're adding in things like that the matrics actually asked us for. They wanted 2-minute noodles. They wanted sanitary pads for the girls. And they wanted basic writing instruments and these sort of things.
And I was just looking at some of the stats. So the campaign, had some really, really sobering findings where food security or security report where more than 63% of South African households face food insecurity, 23.1% severe need, and stunting affects 30% of boys and 25% of girls under the age of 5. And where I'm going with this, then I looked at your last year's campaign where you saw 2,879 buckets packed by over 350 volunteers across the city, containing more than 74,800 individual food items. That is quite a lot. Protein, carbohydrates, vitamins, and all that. What is your estimate for this year? What numbers would you like to achieve this year?
Look, we've been inundated with requests from our community-based organizations, so we really want to try and double it this year. And I really believe as a collective, if everyone gets involved, it's very possible to be able to do that.
And if someone is interested in assisting, where do they go? Maybe you can just break it down. If it's just an individual, maybe it could be corporates, or maybe it could be an organization. How do they then become part and parcel?
Well, they have to go to our website, which is saharvest.org, and have a look. We've actually created a specific page where people can get involved. What we found in the past is a lot of people actually decided that they cannot specifically pack a bucket, or their company couldn't pack a bucket, and they've come together and they've actually raised funds in their own circle of friends or companies, and they've done a monetary donation, and we were able to pack buckets on their behalf.
It's a very interesting initiative. What would you want? What would be ideal for you from corporates?
I really believe, hunger really runs deep in South Africa, and I think for us to give these matrics a fighting chance this time around, we really need to create not just awareness, but I really believe that every single person within our country can play a valuable role, and by getting involved, either by packing buckets, making a donation, or maybe just even letting us know as an organization of a certain manufacturer or farmer or someone that would have access that would like to tap into this collective network and help us further the cause.
And I see here that you say individuals can sponsor a bucket for 500 Rand, which is quite reasonable. And also new clothes. The last time when you were in partnership with the Daily Maverick, there were new clothes for mothers and babies, bags of nutritious food, maize to parents, grandparents, hospitalized children, which is absolutely fantastic. What else would you like? Because some people will feel, look, I may not be able to give you the 500 Rand. I may not be able to give you the protein or the starch or the vitamins. Is there anything else that is outside of what is ideally the bucket that you would like to see that you are also welcome to receive?
Look, I think there's always a need for stationery. What other people have done is they've actually, together as a family or with friends, they've clubbed in. Every single bit helps. We've had people that have sent us 50 Rand, and it all adds up at the end of the day. And we were able to still pack quite a few buckets just based on the smaller donations as well. People must never understand, the ripple effect is huge of what can be done as a collective.
Absolutely. Ozinel, COO of South Africa Harvest. And once again, where we can go for more info?
And that it will be at saharvest.org, on our website. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Facebook. And let's build a larger collective to really shine a lens on so many marginalized young people in our country.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, COO of SA Harvest, Ozinel. Have yourself a great one. And I suppose that wraps up today's show. Thank you to my technical producer as well as my content producers. It's been a blast. Let's do this sometime soon. And going out with a little bit of music. But otherwise, have a great afternoon.